Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly felt like something changed? Nobody says anything. Nobody tells you to leave. Everyone is still smiling, but somehow you know you're not really wanted there. Maybe the conversation suddenly becomes quieter. Someone checks their phone. A family member gives you a short answer. Or you notice that everyone seems excited to see each other, but not you. And here's the uncomfortable part. People rarely tell you directly that they dislike you. Instead, they leak it through tiny behaviors. The way they look at you, the way they respond to your success, the way they treat your opinions. And sometimes, the person secretly uncomfortable with your presence isn't a stranger. It could be your friend. It could be your coworker. It could even be someone in your own family. But here's where this gets interesting. One sign means almost nothing. Two signs might be coincidence, but when several of these behaviors repeatedly come from the same person, that's when you should start paying attention. And the final sign is the most important, because it doesn't happen in their behavior, it happens inside you. Let's start with the first sign. 1. They act different when other people are around. Imagine this. You're alone with someone. They're friendly. They're relaxed. They talk normally. Maybe they even compliment you. Then another person walks into the room and everything changes. Their tone becomes colder. They start making jokes about you. They interrupt you. Or they subtly make you look stupid in front of everyone. You might think, maybe they're just joking, but watch the pattern. Do they only make you the target when there's an audience? Because sometimes people behave differently around others because they want social approval. Putting someone else down can temporarily make them feel more powerful. And there's an easy test. Ask yourself, would they say the same thing to me if we were completely alone? If the answer is consistently no, that tells you something, because genuine respect doesn't disappear when an audience appears. They don't seem happy when you win. Now think about the last time something really good happened to you. Maybe you got a promotion, started making money, reached a fitness goal, bought something you've wanted for years, or simply accomplished something you were proud of. How did certain people react? Did they smile, ask questions, celebrate with you, or did they immediately minimize it? That's not that difficult. You got lucky. Let's see how long it lasts. Or perhaps they congratulated you, but somehow their face didn't match their words. This is important because your success can reveal people's hidden feelings. When someone genuinely cares about you, your progress doesn't threaten them. They don't need you to stay below them. But someone who constantly compares themselves to you may experience your success as a personal loss. And that's why sometimes your biggest clue isn't how people treat you when you're struggling, it's how they treat you when you're winning. They only remember you when they need something. Here's a simple experiment. Don't message them first. Don't ask them for anything. Don't start the conversation. Just step back for a little while. Then watch what happens. Do they contact you? Or does the relationship suddenly disappear? Some people don't actually miss you. They miss what you provide. Your help, your attention, your connections, your money, your advice, your emotional support. And when they need something, suddenly, hey, how have you been? But after they get what they want, silence. A healthy relationship doesn't have to be perfectly equal, but it shouldn't feel like you're running a customer service department either. If someone only remembers you when they need something, you may not be their friend, you may simply be their resource. They interrupt you but listen to everyone else. This one is incredibly subtle. You're talking, they interrupt. You continue, they interrupt again. You tell a story, they look at their phone. Then someone else starts talking, and suddenly they become completely focused. Have you noticed that? Because attention is one of the most powerful forms of social respect. You don't have to agree with someone to listen to them, but if someone consistently gives other people their attention while treating your words like background noise, that's a pattern. And here's the psychological trap. You may start talking louder, explaining more, trying harder to sound interesting, trying to earn their attention. Don't. Respect shouldn't have to be begged for.
5. They keep making jokes at your expense. Relax, I'm just joking. You've probably heard that sentence before. But here's the question. Who is always the joke? If everyone gets teased equally, that's one thing. But if you're constantly the target, your appearance becomes the joke. Your job becomes the joke. Your relationships become the joke. Your mistakes become the joke. And when you finally react, they blame you for being too sensitive. That's not always harmless humor. Sometimes humor is used as a socially acceptable way to express hostility, because the person can attack you and still have an escape route. I was only kidding. So don't just listen to the words. Watch the pattern. Who gets embarrassed when the joke is over? 6. They don't respect your boundaries. This is where dislike can turn into disrespect. You say, "No, I can't do that." They pressure you. You say, "Please don't talk about that." They keep going. You say, "I don't like when you joke about that." They do it again next week. Why does this matter? Because boundaries tell people where your comfort ends. A person who respects you may disagree with your boundary, but they'll generally understand it. Someone who doesn't respect you may repeatedly test it, and sometimes they'll even make you feel guilty for having one. Your family. Come on. Don't be dramatic. You've changed. Remember, a boundary isn't an insult. It's simply information about what you're willing to accept. And people who value you don't need you to have no boundaries in order to stay close to you. 7. They seem more interested in your failures than your success. Now we're getting deeper. Think about someone you know. When you're struggling, they suddenly have a lot to say. They want all the details. They ask what went wrong. They analyze your mistakes. But when something goes right, they're suddenly quiet. You succeed, and they change the subject. You fail, and suddenly they're very interested. That contrast is revealing, because some people feel more comfortable with you when you're below them. Your failure doesn't threaten their identity. Your success might. And here's a sentence worth remembering. Pay attention to who feels uncomfortable when your life gets better. You don't need to accuse them. You don't need revenge. Just become aware.
8. They keep you out of important information. This is especially common in workplaces and families. Everyone somehow knows something, except you. A meeting happened. You weren't told. Plans were made. You found out later. A family event was discussed. Someone says, "Oh, I thought you already knew." Maybe once. Fine. But if it happens repeatedly, you have to ask why. People naturally share information with people they trust and feel connected to. Being consistently left out can be a sign that you're not part of their inner circle. And here's the painful realization. You can be physically present in a group and still be socially excluded. That's why sometimes loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about being surrounded by people who don't make space for you. 9. Their body language changes when you arrive. Now, forget what people say. Watch what their body does. You enter the room, and someone suddenly stops talking. Their smile disappears. They turn their body away. They stop making eye contact. They pick up their phone. The energy feels different. Again, one gesture doesn't prove anything. People get tired. People get distracted. People have bad days. But if the same person repeatedly becomes uncomfortable when you arrive, that's information. And here's the important part. Don't obsess over one moment. Look for patterns across time. Human behavior becomes much easier to understand when you stop analyzing individual actions and start watching repeated behavior. 10. You feel like you're constantly trying to earn their approval. And now we reach the most important sign. Not what they do. What you start doing because of them. You constantly wonder,
Are they mad at me? Did I say something wrong? Should I text them? Should I apologize? Maybe I need to change. Maybe if I become more successful, they'll respect me. And suddenly, you're performing. You're editing your personality. You're chasing approval. You're trying to become the version of yourself that finally makes them accept you. Stop for a second. Ask yourself, why am I trying so hard to convince someone to value me? Because sometimes the problem isn't that you're unlikable. Sometimes, you're simply trying to get love, respect, or acceptance from someone who isn't capable or willing to give it. And that realization can change everything. But here's something I don't want you to do after watching this video. Don't go home and start thinking, my brother dislikes me, my friend hates me, my coworker is jealous. That's not the lesson. Human behavior is complicated. One sign means very little. Even several signs can have different explanations. The real lesson is this: stop ignoring repeated patterns. Don't become paranoid. Become observant. There's a huge difference. Paranoia says, everyone is against me. Awareness says, let me look at what repeatedly happens. That mindset protects you, without poisoning your relationships. What to do if you recognize these signs? So, what should you actually do? First, stop over-explaining yourself. You don't need to convince everyone that you're a good person. Second, stop chasing people who consistently make you feel unwanted. Give relationships room to breathe. Third, set clear boundaries. Watch how people respond. And finally, invest more energy into people who reciprocate, people who listen, people who celebrate your wins, people who respect your boundaries, people who make you feel comfortable being yourself. Because the goal isn't to be liked by everybody. The goal is to know who deserves access to you. And I want you to remember one final thing. If someone doesn't like you, you don't automatically have to fix it. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to prove yourself. And you definitely don't have to become someone you're not just to earn their approval. Sometimes the strongest response is simply, I see the pattern, and I choose my peace. If this video made you think about someone specific, don't expose them in the comments. Instead, write, I choose my peace. And if you want more videos about human psychology, hidden behavior, relationships, and the things people rarely say out loud, subscribe now. Because once you learn how to read patterns instead of just listening to words, people become a lot easier to understand.